What's up, everyone? Curtis here with another episode of Everything Entrepreneurial. In this episode, I'm speaking with Maureen McCowen, the founder of Soft Skills Success. Maureen's mission is to take the fear out of communication for individuals and teams. Her work comprises of helping people master their pitch, learning to handle themselves in board meetings, becoming an engaging presenter, and she also provides training to cover all aspects of presentation and communication skills. Okay, let's get straight into the episode. Well, thanks very much, Maureen, for taking the time out of your day to come on the podcast. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your business?
Right, thanks for having me on the show, Curtis. Delighted to be here. So my name is Maureen McCowen. My business is Soft Skills Success, and I use the tagline Unlock Speaking Confidence. And I deliver communication and presentation skills training. And for a lot of people, they think, presentation skills, they're thinking of standing on a stage, delivering to a big audience. But in actual fact, an awful lot of people, it is the simple, everyday interactions with people that they find really, really challenging. So whether that's, speaking to senior management, delivering a presentation to clients, delivering a presentation internally to your own colleagues, all of those interactions can cause a lot of stress for people. So that's where the tagline falls in then for the Unlock Speaking Confidence. And if someone wants to speak on a big stage, I can help them with that too. That's brilliant.
So you cover the whole spectrum there. So you work with corporates, you work with maybe startups and business owners who maybe need to perfect their pitch, and you give them a dig out.
Absolutely. Yeah, the pitch is a big one. It's one of the workshops that I have. I run 4 times a year, Master Your Pitch workshop. That was how I started, and for the first product, if you like, that I had, because I set up my business back in 2019. My background is secondary teaching. So I had been teaching languages, Irish and French, for all my career, and loved it. Always wanted to be a teacher. That's in the blood, that what I wanted to do. But I decided back at the end of 2018 that I wanted to try something different, and decided that I would go down this route. A long story short, I was sort of advised that my skills lay in that whole teaching area, and I should work to my strengths. So between that and then experience of Toastmasters for 10 years of communication, presentation skills, it was like, okay, this is a natural fit for me. So this is the way I'm going to go. But when I first started networking was all new to me. Being a business owner was new to me, and pitches were most definitely new to me. But I discovered very quickly, a pitch is essentially a small speech, and it's going to have those elements that you need in a speech. So whether it's a virtual networking like what we're doing now, or in person, you need to get people's attention at the beginning. You need to get that hook so that they're listening to you, and find a way to explain what you do quickly and simply. And that simply side of it is what's a big challenge for a lot of people, because when they feel that they've got that 60 seconds, because normally the pitch is your 60 seconds, they feel they just have to jam pack absolutely everything in, because I have to tell them everything that I do. And if I don't, people won't understand what I do. And the problem is that when they try to do that, they're trying to say too much, none of it sticks, and people just end up confused. And if we're confused, we stop listening. So the pitch is a big area that I definitely started off working with people on that one. And it's still, I just love helping people dig through all of what they do to come up with their sentence, single sentence. What is it that you do? How can you describe it? And they can use that then for social media posts. They can use it in their website. When they get that clarity, it spills over into other areas as well.
Definitely. And I think with the clarity, just to touch on that, it gives someone more confidence, I suppose. Like if someone was to ask me what I done, I'd probably still be a little bit rusty, and it's a little bit kind of like, it catches you out of nowhere. But if you get that clarity and you get the practice in, and you start saying it regularly and all, if you come across more confident, and you know what you're doing. So no, that's very good. I'm very interested in hearing how you started off in public speaking. I know you said you were a teacher, but did you ever have any issues yourself, maybe with like a confidence issue speaking to people, presenting, or was that kind of something you learned as you were a teacher?
It's interesting because a lot of people feel that teachers are automatically going to be good public speakers and that, you know, they've got loads of confidence and that they're fine. And it's not the case at all, because they, you know, when you're in the classroom, that's your own little area, and you've got a group of, in my case, teenagers that are there. So you're the expert and you're talking to them. But it's a whole different situation if you're speaking in front of your peers or speaking at public events. And that same nervousness can apply to everyone in those situations as well. For myself, my reason for joining Toastmasters almost 11 years ago now at this stage wasn't so much for making speeches and delivering that side of things, but it was that social chit chat. You know, if you're at an event, you meet someone new, and I just was not comfortable. I hated it. So I wasn't good with that interpersonal communication. And that was my reason for going. So it could have, you know, I suppose if you take a look at it, it could have been any group that you could join, any club or organization where you're putting yourself out to meet people. But Toastmasters, because it has that public speaking element, it pushed me out that little bit more. So that was my reason for joining it. And the skills that are there, you know, they're life skills. I mean, it's like any of the soft skills that are called soft skills, and people maybe think they're not as important, but they're the ones that are coming up again and again, whether it's communication skills or collaboration skills, and all of these skills that are there, they are skills for life all the way. Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. I don't know if I'm lucky or if I don't know what the crack is, but I feel like my soft skills have helped me be in business. You know, that way it's way I chit chat with people, with my clients, and I speak to them. I don't know, I must give off like a sense of trust or something. You know, it's really helped. Where other people that I know that like have an agency or another business, if they're a bit more kind of analytical, they might struggle with those things. You know, and they might not get as much clients on board. So really, it's good for both sets of people if they have good soft skills or if they're more analytical to get some training like yourself, like what you do. And it's super important. It's the same with like networking. All these soft skills are really important in developing your business. 100%.
Absolutely. Yeah, very much so. And, you know, you had mentioned there earlier about when you're clear on what you want to say and how it brings about confidence. And that's 100% for it, that people feel, you know, if you're standing up and you're not sure of what you're saying, you can ramble and you can go off track and you can go off the message of what it is, whether that's at a pitch or whether it's delivering a longer talk. Whereas when you've got that structure and that clarity on it, keeps you on track, keeps you, you know, focused on what it is that you're saying. And that gives you confidence, but it also helps the person who's listening because they know where you're going as well. And they can follow the path of it. And they're not wondering, what's that about? And where did that point come from? And I don't know what they're talking about. And they just stop listening. So, you know, that's what can happen. So we need to keep it simple for people all the way through.
Very good points. Very good tip there as well. Keep it simple. So when you were starting your business in 2019, tell us, like, was there any fear in starting your business? Was there any stress? Like, how did you manage your emotions, I suppose? Because that's a big thing for business owners, you know, when they're starting a business.
It is. And I suppose I was in the fortunate position being teaching that I was able to take a career break. So there was that safety net that was there, as opposed to somebody who's going all in and, you know, you have to sort of, it's do or die. So it was a luxury being able, and I'm very aware of that, being able to have that, you know, the career break is there. If it doesn't work out, then I can go back to teaching. And that gave that security blanket that was there, that it meant it took pressure off for starters, that I wasn't feeling I have to make a success of this in 6 months or 12 months or whatever. So it took that pressure off, but it also allowed for things to experiment a little bit. So we'll say for last year, you know, when COVID hit and everyone is suddenly thinking, oh my goodness, what do I do now? And how do I change and how do I adapt? Whereas it was, again, easier to sort of say, well, look, I can try this. And if it works out, it's great. And if it doesn't work out, that's fine too. And keep moving on. So it was a privileged position to be in, you know, that's for sure and certain. Having said that, in my mind and the level of work that I put in and the level of effort that I've put in, it has never been anything less than 100% all of the time, because otherwise you're wasting your time. If you're not giving it your all and trying your best at it, then you are wasting your time. There's no point in messing about with this. If you're a business owner, you need to get serious about it. So
that's it, yeah, 100%. And how did you find, you're a business owner yourself, you wear many hats, you take one off, you put one on, take one off, put one on. How did you juggle that, the accountant, if there's any HR issues, getting your sales hat on? How did you manage all that?
All of that. Well, I suppose like a lot of people, you start off with the romantic notion that you're setting up a business, and I was going to be doing communication presentation skills training. It was only when you start into it that you realize it's actually only a portion of what you do, because there are all of those other hats and all of the other bits. And I've just learned so much. It has been absolutely phenomenal. The learning curve that I've been on, the first 6 months, I think, were huge. And I started very early on. I did the Start Your Own Business course with the local enterprise office, which was great because at least it gave me that bit of foundation for what I needed to do. And, I've been learning and doing courses and doing different training all the way since, and upskilling myself as much as I can. And then again, last year was a big learning curve for me and for the rest of the world, when COVID hit, and you're seeing what can be done differently and how can you change things, and how can you make a go of it now in these new circumstances. So it's just been really strong learning, personal development, business development. And yeah, it is that juggle side of things. And I'm still at the stage where I'm doing it all myself, starting to outsource small little bit, but most of it is myself. So as things grow, then it's, it'll be the time to sort of say, okay, bye to these bits that I no longer need to be doing myself, So looking forward to that as well.
Oh yeah, take a bit of stress off yourself. I know you're an educator. I know that, but how important? I'm anticipating your answer. But how important do you feel that self-development or constantly learning is crucial to entrepreneurs? How crucial is it?
It is to keep your mind open all of the time. And it was interesting because I was having this conversation over the weekend that for the whole personal development side of things and the amount of reading and podcasts and all of that, I have done so much of that would benefit me no matter what I'm doing in life, that I didn't do in my teaching career. So a lot of my my development when I was teaching was from, how to become better in the classroom, how to teach my subjects better, but it wasn't developing of me. And that's one of the things that I'm doing now as well, whether it's books or podcasts or courses that you do, that there's that bit more balance going on. So I'm a very different person to who left the classroom 3 years ago. Very different in what I've done, what I've learned from that. But back to your question about being an entrepreneur, you have to, because it's very easy to get stuck in the treadmill of going around to doing things the way you've always done them. But if you don't open your mind up to other ways of doing things, whether that's through meeting people or reading or podcasts or whatever it's going to be, to find other ways that you can do things and other possibilities. Because when you learn something new, it might be in a whole different field, might have nothing to do with you or your business, but there could be an aspect of it that you can take and apply. And that learning then is beneficial to you in ways that you might not have expected.
And what do you think about an entrepreneurial mindset? Do you think a business person has to kind of focus a certain way? Like, do they have to have like a positive mental attitude, or like how do they take on failure, or how do they manage self-sabotage? Do you think business owners need to have some experience, or they need to have like the necessary tools to kind of manage those things?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I suppose everybody deals with things differently, but I think when you're going into being a business owner, you really need to be able to not get too excited about the highs and not get too down about the lows where possible, because if you were to go jumping around every time that good news came in and then went to the depths of despair when things get pulled, it would just be too difficult to cope with. So you have to try and keep that even mind about everything. And the whole, nothing lasts forever. And that's the good times as well as the bad times. And, there are days that are there where, you might go a number of days or a number of weeks and there's no new clients coming in or no phone calls, no inquiries. And you're thinking, what's going on? What am I doing? And then suddenly, you get a call, you get an email, and everything has changed. But that can be very draining emotionally. So you do need to be able to have that balance to be able to deal with all of that. And I'm sure certain sectors are worse than others, but that's what my experience of it has been to date. You get if this is a big disappointment because some client has pulled a full day's training on you and you were banking on that for that particular month, then you have to sort of say, okay, well, look, maybe something better will come along tomorrow. But that's not always easy to do.
It's not easy to do at all, and that's some great insight. But I also feel like some of those things that I said, like self-sabotage and everything, I think the services that you provide could actually help people in an indirect way by improving their soft skills and, perfecting their pitch and really understanding, getting that clarity about the offer that they're giving people would help them in those areas too.
It would, because, sorry, back to the whole time that you're delivering that message, whether it's on a podcast or your social media, that you're clear on what the message is and that you're working through that. And it's one of the things when things are quiet, that you sort of say, right, okay, well, what can I do to work on the business this week? It's given me an opportunity to update my LinkedIn profile or to check my website, see if it's up to date, or maybe I can attend a new networking event, or there's always something that you can be doing in the background. That's one of the things that I keep myself busy all the time. Might not always be working with clients, but there's always something going on from the business point of view. I think that's important as well.
Brilliant. And just in relation to your business now, how many services do you actually offer, or do you offer certain packages to different types of clients?
Yeah, there are a range of ones. So I mentioned there about the pitch. So Master Your Pitch is a 3-hour masterclass that I hold 4 times a year. So that's a once-off type of thing. Now I can work with clients one-to-one on that as well, but the masterclass in a small group with 6 people, the bouncing ideas off each other, it can be really, really valuable, the content that comes out from that. So that's one. In February of this year, I started a 6-week program, which is Communicate with Confidence. Again, it's with a small group, and that's building up skills where people get the opportunity to develop communication skills, but also presentation skills. They present 3 times over the 6 weeks. So that's been very popular. I had expected to run 1 session of that in February, but I'm actually on my 3rd session of that at the moment.
Brilliant.
And a waiting list for September for the next one coming out. So it gives people that opportunity to speak in front of a small group, because a lot of clients were contacting me saying, yeah, they'd like to work with me one-to-one. And then when you get talking to them and say, well, I'm fine speaking with one person, but it's when there's a group that there's a problem. And I was like, okay, we need to do something about this and create a group situation. So that's how that came about. Then I would have, for a number of professionals who are quite often newly promoted, that they're in a more senior role and suddenly they're thrown into this where they are presenting to the board or presenting, leading meetings and they're totally out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
And that whole imposter syndrome is kicking in. So there's a 6-week on the room program that I would work one-to-one with people on that. And then all of those can be brought into the corporate setting as well, delivered as workshops, training, individual training, team training that I've done. A bit of training recently with sales teams for their presentation skills, because a lot of them are challenged selling on Zoom now and having these Zoom and Teams meetings rather than face-to-face. If you have built up those in-person skills of being able to go in, chat, build that rapport, and now suddenly that's taken away from you, then it puts an awful lot more emphasis on the actual presentation. So it's nailing that and getting that right.
Very, very good. That's very interesting. And so hopefully now, fingers crossed, we're seeing the other end of COVID. I'm sure that you've done a lot of online workshops and stuff. That's part of it. Do you plan on doing any in-person, like person-to-person meetings or anything in the near future?
Nothing is booked in at the moment, but that would be, I would see that a lot of people will be wanting to get back to that, but there's still going to be the room for the virtual. The virtual is definitely going to continue, because even from, we said, the workshops that I deliver myself, I've got people from all over the country attending that. I've had 2 people from the States attending. So
Brilliant.
It's opening up possibilities. And similarly then for the in-house training, I've been delivering training in Mexico and Argentina to a company there recently for their Latin American teams. So lots of opportunities have opened up. So they're still going to be there, but there will always be people who will need that practice. If you're going to be speaking a lot in person and you're delivering it in person, then you need that practice in person as well. So, you've got both sides of it there, but there's definitely room for the virtual side of things will continue. And with hybrid meetings as well, and, where some of the team will be dialing in and some of them will be there in person, that's creating a whole new set of challenges for businesses as well. So going forward, so it'll be interesting.
Lots of work. Lots of work to be done.
That's so for sure.
You said there, like in Argentina and Mexico, you're working with teams there. That sounds brilliant. So what way would you see your next 6 to 12 months in your business? Do you have any goals, or do you have any milestones that you'd like to reach?
I would like to definitely get back into the classroom face-to-face with clients, because that's a great way, whether it's delivering teams or delivering my own workshops, because you can't beat that personal energy that's there. So that's one thing for sure and certain. The Communicate with Confidence, that 6-week program coming up in September. So I'm going to be running 3 of those in the autumn. So the previous 3 were sold out. So it'd be a great goal to get the next 3 sold out as well before Christmas. That would be a great milestone to hit on that one. And it's just continuing doing what I'm doing. And and I suppose this is the same for every business owner, you're listening to what clients want, you're taking on board what they say. So 6 months ago, that Communicate with Confidence program didn't exist. It came about because of client requirements. So it's always listening to what clients are going to need and see what's going to be coming up next. There are different, there's a whole range of things that can be brought in, but a lot of it is listening to people, finding out if there's a market for it, and then trying it. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out.
That's it. So if anyone was listening to the podcast and they wanted to find out more about your 6-week course, where's the best place to find you online? So
my website is softskillsuccess.ie, and then I'm on the usual social media, but most active on LinkedIn and Instagram. So that's Maureen McCowen on LinkedIn and at Maureen McCowen on Instagram.
Brilliant stuff, Maureen. I just want to say thanks very much again for coming on to the podcast. I really appreciate it, and I wish you all the best.
Thanks a million, Curtis. Enjoyed the chat.